guess they liked the episode.
Wow.
Welcome, everybody. It is my pleasure to be in conversation with the cast of Schitt's Creek: Eugene Levy, Annie Murphy, Catherine O'Hara, and Dan Levy. Now, you guys have been doing press all day long. Came right from Fallon.
They have. We're just fresh.
You're fresh. Okay.
Fresh little daisies.
And it will show.
And it will show. Good, very good. But I was just thinking of all the press that you're doing, there is something very specific, not only about the fact that we're at the 92nd Y, but about this situation where I put myself, which is we are all Canadian. We are all Canadian. Potentially all of us are here legally, not sure.
And that's the last time I was here.
Yes, which is a long
on
time
the panel
ago.
Talking about why are Canadians so funny. That was 17 years ago. So
it's a strange story that we met 17 years ago on this very stage. I was a young stand-up, barely. As I was saying, it was a volunteer career at the time.
And I was a young comedic actor.
And the discussion was trying to get to the bottom of why Canadians are so funny. And you basically rolled out the conclusion.
Donuts?
It was donuts.
Okay.
It was Tim Hortons has...
Timbits. Yes,
Timbits. The
that's
middle
right.
of the donut is called a Timbit.
Okay.
And it was all about the fact that Canada can even...
It was the merit of the Timbit, which is the little lump of dough that comes when they punch out a donut. The lump that comes out, they make into a ball, they deep fry it, and they sell those.
Oh, I'm having a very hard time following.
As Timbits. And the reason that it was kind of funny was because it appeared on the, I cut out a page of the paper, and it was an article on the merits of the Timbit on the second page of the first section of a Canadian newspaper. And I said, this could be one of the reasons Canadians are so funny, because this is what we get every day in the paper. Yeah.
Right, international news is on page 7. Very good. So this is your probably, I think, a rare experience where your episode, a television episode that we only see usually in our homes, was appreciated by a large audience. You guys could hear the reaction.
Oh,
That's crazy.
So, I mean, Dan, what did you think of it? Did you feel like this was a different response?
It's nice to hear reaction. I was sitting just back behind here, just fingers crossing that people would react. Fortunately, you did, so thank you very much.
No, nice laugh.
Really nice.
Do you think it's there's a different reaction here with the New York crowd?
It did feel like there were different laughs, didn't it? And especially all the theater.
Theater references.
Did you say, ask the audience who's been in a production of...
Oh, yeah, we should, by a round of applause, how many people here have been in a regional production of...
Everybody! Just like you said.
That's great.
I don't think that's a lie. I think that's true.
I don't doubt it at all.
But so this is your creation, right? This was your brainchild?
Well, it started as a seedling of an idea that was mine, and then became an incredibly collaborative project that we all can claim as our own. But yeah, I was playing around with the idea of this collective consciousness that we have now about how wealthy people live, be it a housewife or a Kardashian, and we know sort of the ins and outs of that lifestyle now. So I thought it would be funny playing on that cultural awareness of what would happen if a family like that were to lose everything. We have seen it sort of explored in the sitcom world, but I'd never sort of seen it explored through the lens of what these amazing people do so well, which is a very sort of character-driven, reality-based comedy. So I turned to my dad, and we started to play around with that seedling, and not to use a corny metaphor, but it sprouted into a wonderful vine.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't think that's a thing.
And where along the way did the name come in?
Well, the name actually came in, you know, my wife, Deb, was kind of working on had actually written a script about boomers and about kids, about boomers having to move in with their kids and having a rough time, and we would go out with some friends of ours and talk about, you know, this premise, and my friend Martin came up with the idea that, well, this town, they're really up Schitt's Creek, maybe, and maybe what if the town was Schitt's Creek, and then we got into things about, oh, then you could go to Schitt Hardware, and you could go to Schitt Foods, and we, you know, over the dinner table, it was really funny. And at one point, when Dan and I were kind of getting together, fleshing out this story, and Dan brought in this article about this family that loses their money, and he brought in an article about Kim Basinger, who had bought a town many, many years ago for a considerable amount of money, and
Didn't work out for Kim.
Didn't work out for Kim. It did not work out, and when we kind of hit upon the fact that this family buys a town, this name Schitt's Creek just was in the back of my head, and I said, I think it has to be called Schitt's Creek. And that's how the marriage of those two things came together.
How many times along the way of getting this show actually developed did some television executive, someone try to talk you out of that name?
7.
He's not wrong. We had many conversations with some people across a conference table who sort of would lean in and say, what about up a creek? Silence. Okay, we'll go with Schitt's Creek then, I guess. We just never we never caved. Because up a creek, I mean,
up a creek,
kind of a
no.
show, what kind of a stupid idea?
No.
Shitty, stupid. Shitty, stupid.
Yeah. And it must be fun doing press for this, because I'm sure everyone has a different reaction as to whether they can say it, whether they can't say it.
Yeah, it's a way
people
bigger
can't.
deal than it needs to be. People are very concerned about saying shit.
Of all the things.
S-C-H.
S-C-H, yeah.
It is an Irish last name, to be fair.
Of course it is.
And there are people who live their lives with this last name.
That's actually terribly
We're living in a
unfair.
very progressive society, I hope, in the future here in America.
Just remember, there's a lot of people here that, depending on how the election goes,
Could
are
go very
moving
dark.
to hang out with you guys.
They're all welcome.
I think that's just Canada's new slogan. If it all goes wrong, it's just come on up. Come on.
It's not so bad once you get in.
We're
Yeah,
great.
really.
We're lovely.
all right.
Very accepting.
Talk about refugees.
So where along the process did Catherine O'Hara come in to your minds as the perfect person that should be cast?
We'll save you. Please, Eugene, let me save you the trouble here.
Huh?
Because I'll heat up if anyone says anything nice about
Okay.
me, please.
Catherine,
All right.
So,
Catherine
Eugene
hates when
hired me,
people
so
talk
must
about
not-
her and say nice things about her. She goes into hot flashes and things. It's not a good thing. So honestly, she was our last choice. A lot of people we talked about that we wanted. There was.
I gave you a big list.
There, yes. Well, you didn't really want to do TV. You didn't want to. You had hesitation about kind of getting involved in a series. No, Catherine, of course, we wanted from the very beginning, and really the thing was, could we talk her into kind of committing to doing a series?
Or just getting out of the house.
I like
Yeah.
my house.
And obviously, you two have worked together a lot in the past. You knew each other originally from Second City?
Yes.
In Toronto?
Well, I saw Eugene in Godspell first, and he was wonderful. And worked with, he and his castmates were the coolest group of people.
Yeah, who's in that cast of Godspell?
Oh, good cast. 1972 Toronto, the Toronto production. It was me, Marty Short, Andrea Martin, Gilda Radner, Victor Garber, and Paul Schaefer was our musical director.
Oh,
Not bad.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Catherine's brother was going out with Gilda
Yeah, until Marty stole her away.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Well, not on purpose.
and so we would see each other. We would kind of see each other at parties and things, even though it was like Marcus's little sister. But we actually didn't meet till, I guess, Second City, when Catherine, I guess, was working as a waitress
Right.
in the Second City theater.
And watching you on stage.
Yeah.
Someday.
But then, did you audition, or did they
I
just
did.
turn to you one day and they were like, we need a waitress in a scene?
Yeah. No. I auditioned, and I didn't get in the first time. And Joe Flaherty, who was directing the cast at the time, said, Kathy, audition. About your audition. Yeah. Keep up the good work. Waitress scene, I mean.
What?
Yes, that's Joe. No.
Joe has
I
a
knew
cruel
he
streak.
was being cruelly kind. No, then a really short time afterwards, he made me the understudy for Gilda and Rosemary Radcliffe, the other girl in the cast. And short time after that, Gilda, we did a trade with Chicago. Chicago cast played the Toronto stage for 4 weeks, and Toronto cast played the Chicago stage. And I got to go with them and understudy, which was great, because Bill Murray and not John Belushi, was he in the other cast? No,
No,
Bill
he
Murray,
wasn't. Bill
Tino
was,
Insana.
yes.
Yeah, just amazing cast. Betty Thomas and
Anne Ryerson.
Anne Ryerson. And then Gilda, as was planned, Gilda left after 2 weeks and went to do National Lampoon, and I got to dare to take her place. Yeah, it was fun, great fun. And hang out with Eugene. Eugene and John and Danny and I, we were in one car. Am I dreaming this up? To
John
drive
Candy.
to Chicago.
Yes.
My mom and dad say, oh, take care of her. Who are they really? You say they're funny. Are they nice boys?
Not if they're funny. So you agree to basically do a television series for the first time in a while, because you've been doing a lot of film.
Agree, but also lucky, thank you.
Good.
Nice offer.
But also, you agreed to walk into the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there any hesitation about that?
No, I only felt bad for Deb, your mother, your wife. She's the only one in the family who's not in the show. No, otherwise, no hesitation. No. So
And then you get brought into this as the one person, I dare to say, have you known Dan since he was a
baby.
A baby?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you come in, you don't know these people from 35 years or whatever.
No, except I really know these people.
But you really know them.
And when I got the part, I was cruising on such a high that I didn't really put together like exactly what I would have to do and go in and act with these people. And so the night before, it just kind of dawned on me what I had to do the next morning, and I've never been so terrified in my entire life. I got so nervous, and I was racking my brain for some excuse as to why I couldn't go into work the next day. And I couldn't think of one, not one. And so I had to go into work. But no, like after that first scene was out of the way, we got all the jitters.
You found your
out,
groove.
and It's felt pretty homey ever since for me.
And he was amazing on our very first day, honestly. Nobody knew. I mean, if you were going through things, nobody would have guessed it in a million
No, not for a
years.
second.
You were just, you came through like a powerhouse right out of the gate. And,
When you were, did you audition for this?
Yeah.
Okay, when you were, did you tell your friends, like, oh my God, I'm auditioning?
Yeah.
And did anyone, did anyone give you advice or specific to this?
No, everyone was just so excited. Like,
Yeah.
The sides came and the audition came with these 2 names already attached to it, so. I've never worked so hard at an audition in my life.
Really?
And I made my husband rehearse it with me, like, just into the ground. And then I got a call back, and then I actually auditioned for Stevie, too.
Well, I have to step in at this point.
Yes, please.
Because Annie came in when we were casting in Los Angeles, and we were seeing like hundreds of people, wonderful people.
Canadian people.
Huh?
Canadian people.
Canadian people.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Wonderful Canadians.
They're all in Los Angeles.
You know, there's something about this family that, I mean, there had to be some kind of intrinsic likability to this family.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's really no reason to watch, because on paper, they're not very likable.
Yeah. No, that's the whole point. They've fallen, and you are.
And so there has to be something about, particularly, I think, the character of Alexis, and we've seen like socialites played out, till the cows come home, and they're not very interesting. And Annie came in, and I had been sitting through 2 days worth of auditions, and you see these girls come in, and they're dressing like Paris Hilton, and they're playing that part, which was essentially the part that was written on paper. But what I was looking for was what Annie brought in, which was this sort of wonderfully natural likability to this girl who is so unlikable, who is so like horrifyingly self-involved. And yet she came in like a kimono and a bun on her head, and all the other girls were like in like pink dresses and their hair were done. And there was just this like, I didn't know what I was watching at first, and then it all sort of fell into place, and I called my dad, and we had this conversation. I said, I found Alexis.
Yeah.
Thank God. And then my dad's immediate response was, but she has brown hair. And we were like, so we had this back and forth. I said, listen,
What could one do?
I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure we can take her to a salon
I'm sorry.
Well, in all fairness,
and fix the problem.
I had an image in my head. We did the pilot. Yes, we did a pilot with somebody else at that time playing
We did
Alexis.
the pilot with
Who
Abby
did-
Elliott.
Yeah, that's right, and
Yeah.
who was really good. And,
lovely.
And I just had this, she was blonde, and I just had this, once I see it, it's there. I can't do anything about it. Can't change my mind.
Well, to
You know,
Abby's credit,
which-
she did a great job.
Did a
She
great
had
job.
another
So
engagement.
She had another job.
I
It
just
was
had
it was
blonde.
all kismet.
That's all.
Yeah. That's
You're,
not.
wait a second.
Anyway.
I love that you're finding out about this now.
Anyway. So Annie came in, and to satiate the problem, I was like, well, she should then read for Stevie, because we're not having her in the show. And fortunately, everything worked out.
I love your
Yeah,
hair.
in a big way.
Thank you.
See? Blonde.
You were right.
But I love, yes, character driven, but I love this idea too about finding a way to make unlikable characters A, funny, B, likable, that you are strangely rooting for them either to continue failing or to rise up. It's one or the other. So, and that is a interesting way to look at a character, and I'm just wondering, how do you approach a character like that?
I would like to think the best way is probably not to try to be likable. And there's lots of great stuff on paper. And actually, sometimes in the first drafts, you'll have me say something to someone's face. It's just so blatantly mean. And I go, no, Moira thinks people love her.
Right.
And she thinks she's a people person, and always saying the right thing and engaging people and making everyone comfortable, So, So it's not, you know, being likable comes so naturally to Moira, she doesn't have to think about it. You know, I think well, especially in writing, if you start I'd rather you go that way, actually, if she's tough and I have to soften her a bit, that's fine. It's when you start softening people on paper, I think that it's like, oh, you'd like us to like you, would you?
Right.
No, I don't know. I don't think, and I love that we're not changing so quickly, you know? The changes are very subtle in the second season. And I mean, for all of us, you know, nothing's, you know, it's like granite. We're not gonna shift that quickly. And that feels real to me. And also, I'm sorry, you're seeing these people at their worst, especially at the beginning, the first episode. You know, oh my, we had everything ripped out from under us. When people say, you know, you're kind of nasty or something. Oh, and how would you behave having your life? I'm sorry, you'd be cool? You'd be like, you know, you're seeing them really at their worst at the beginning.
But there was also a concerted effort to articulate the fact that this wasn't their fault. They lost their money by way of a crooked business manager, and they weren't bad people. They were just like incredibly blind to the way that, you know, the average person lives. So that was a really important piece of the narrative story, because that, I think, allowed the audience to side with this family because they were sort of struggling and they were very unapologetic in their struggle. So I think that kind of sadness hopefully would have hooked in the audience, or at least that's what we were hoping for.
And even though we're so detached because we've lived, because of money, such separate lives,
Right.
We don't attack each other. That's what I love about this, without saying, oh, they're getting along, you know? We don't attack. You know, Moira does not attack Johnny, and we don't need to put any more pressure on Johnny than he's obviously feeling himself. I love the scenes in this season of you in the office.
When he
Sold that car. Oh, selling the cars. So pathetic. But we don't need to put any more on him. I love that you don't have us do that.
Right, you're singing to him at the end.
We're married for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a real family there, and someday we may discover it.
And I have to say, obviously, the costuming for you three is right, fantastic.
Daniel's a
And
big
the
part of it.
sweaters.
Daniel's
So
a
many
big part of it.
sweaters.
So many sweaters.
So many sweaters and pants
This is something,
and skirts.
and skirts.
and this is something that that you put together?
No. We have a costume designer, the amazing Deborah Hansen. She works on Orphan Black. She's
Right.
wonderful. And I worked with her, and you know, when we sat down to do the show, the interesting thing about the wardrobe on the show is that it's able to tell a story that we don't need to articulate in dialogue. You can see that this family came from money every episode by way of their clothes, and that saves us a lot of exposition when it comes to scripting. So to me, the wardrobe was an incredibly important part of this show because it was able to express that, and because the audience would always have that link to their past. So when we sat down with Deborah, before, you know, putting the show together, I basically said, well, all their clothes need to be extremely high-end designer clothing. This is a very small Canadian show. Her face went white. She was like, so by way of Zara isn't a thing that, and so we began to call consignment stores and eBay and online sales, and
You called
so between
eBay?
the two, we called them.
Oh, Alexa.
I don't have their number.
Called them. Yeah.
So Alexa.
And we slowly do it, but it's, I mean, you know, it really is, it's 365 days a year. We're working on the wardrobe of the show all throughout the year, and it's between her and I, we're all finding things on eBay and pulling them together. And, you know, as the season goes on and second season takes, I think, I'll go with a bolder step in terms of the wardrobe. There's some bolder moves, I think, that we make. And it's just so much fun.
Really?
Yeah, yes, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
But Catherine comes into fittings, and we will have just the most things that you will see that show up that you think, I don't know I don't even know how to put that on a
We've
body.
had 4 people around me, and I think maybe an arm goes in that. Well, let's try this. Yeah, honestly, we've done this.
And then she puts it on, and we're like, yes, yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. So yeah, we have a lot of fun.
And the jewelry, yeah, is also incredible.
It's costume now.
Right.
Harry Winston,
They took the real stuff from us. They left me with the baubles.
The baubles. Eugene, when people ask you where Schitt's Creek is located, where do you tell them? Is it
Wherever you think it should be. We didn't set Schitt's Creek in any location or any country. It's just Schitt's Creek. We honestly wanted the focus of the show to be on this town, and if you put it in a country with real states, or you put it in a country with real provinces, and then things become tangible, you kind of know where it kind of diffuses the focus to me. So it was always, Schitt's Creek is the only place you need to know in this show, and Elmdale, which is a bigger town of maybe 15,000. It's a big town, and between, that's all we know, Schitt's Creek and Elmdale. So we don't really know where it is. It's not set in any one geographical locale, although we're pretty sure that it's somewhere in farm country.
But you were saying that people just assumed that because the family was in New York, that they were an American family?
Well, yes, because you know, you're talking about in Canada, because you know, when you're shooting the show in Canada, there are kind of stipulations that that you need, and they don't really take to a kind of American. If this family was an American family from New York and you want to set this show in Canada, produce it in Canada, you're going to run into problems, because they're going to say, why is it not a Canadian family in a Canadian town? So originally they thought that that because they mentioned New York, City, that the family was from New York, and I said, well, we never said the family was American. All we said was they had a place in New York. Like all billionaires, they have a place in New York, they have a place in Los Angeles, they have a place in London, they have a place in Paris, and they're going to reference all these cities. And there's nothing to say this family is American, and there's nothing to say it's Canadian. It's just, this is, it's a neutral kind of territory.
And also, I think, just to dig a little bit deeper, if we even can with a show like this, but I think setting the show in a place where you don't care about where they are really focuses on the isolation of where that place is. And it's sort of a subconscious thing. You don't really know it when you're watching it, but there's really nowhere else. And without that context, I think it really focuses the audience in on this little fish tank that they're in.
It makes them feel more trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing out there,
it was
wherever
really,
they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is filmed in Goodwood, Ontario?
Goodwood, Ontario.
Goodwood.
That's a place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's
They wondered
amazing.
about Schitts.
Yeah. Goodwood. Poor Goodwood. But how is Goodwood reacting to it being Schitt's
Thrilled.
Creek? Yeah, they love it.
Goodwood is thrilled to be Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Lawn chairs.
Lawn chairs, they've, we were very apprehensive, I think, going into Goodwood to pitch the show, because what is that pitch? Hi, the family's in a, and the town's called Schitt's Creek, so can we shoot here? Fortunately, someone said yes. I wasn't in that pitch meeting. I think our producer, Andrew, was involved in that, or someone, but they did a great job.
Yes, they went. They had to talk to the town council and basically lay the groundwork. And the difference is, we went there the first year. Nobody knew what the show was, so we didn't really know how the town was going to react. But day by day, they would come out and hang around the set, and it's true. They would set up their lawn chairs on on their front lawns and watch us shoot across the street, and
or just walk right into the right on set.
or right into the shot.
Never met more confident people in my life. Oh, hi. Just standing right beside.
They'd stand around the monitors in the director's booth and actually comment about it. You sure you want to keep this? And the second year, of course, in that interim first year, the show came out, and it did very well critically and with the public and everything else. By the time we went back, the second year, they were proud citizens of Schitt's Creek. Yes. Yeah.
Are they printing up T-shirts or doing any of their own?
Wasn't there a baseball team or something that?
The town baseball team.
Yeah, they did have a team that they cut with something like the Goodwood Cougars or something in some league that they actually changed for 1 month, changed the name to the Schitt's Creek Cougars. Aww. And had T-shirts made up Schitt's Creek Cougars. So that was pretty good.
That's amazing. Now you obviously have this amazing on-screen chemistry. And off-screen chemistry, I'm sure, too. But on-screen, we've just enjoyed you in so many things. What is it like for you to watch a scene of your son with Catherine O'Hara?
He's only watching his son, and that's a good thing. It's
pretty spectacular and kind of surreal. And it's, you know, because I stand back and I'm looking at both Dan and Sarah, who plays Twyla. I mean, just both doing such an amazing job. But I sit and watch them. Two things: when I'm watching them in a scene with like Catherine, I can't. There's not a day that I take for granted that my kids are acting in a scene with Catherine O'Hara, acting in a comedy scene with Catherine O'Hara, and holding their own very well. And it's an odd thing to be actually working in a scene with the kids because you're actually acting, kind of. I mean, you know,
let's hope so.
Because I would never, never take the kind of back talk that David gives Johnny in the show, but you have to act that in the show. So it's like an amazing thing. I'm actually acting with my son, and the same thing with Sarah. It's actually for real. It's like a real professional show, and we're actually doing this for money. I don't know, it's odd.
The first time I was in a scene with you, I guess when we were doing that pilot presentation and the two of you were doing the scene in the motel rooms, it almost made me cry, really. The first time we were running through and looking at their two sets of eyebrows.
That's been around a lot.
No, definitely one a little more refined version of your two parents. But really was sweet. I think, oh my God, how wonderful for you.
It was pretty special. It was pretty special.
You said that you thought that Daniel was just coming to you like any son coming to a father. You know, oh, he's actually going to ask me for my ideas or my reaction, and then you're actually becoming partners. That's crazy.
I just wondered when it actually became a thing, when you started being like, oh gosh, we don't know what he can do. This was fun until it became a real thing.
Well, you know, the scary thing is,
very nervous.
No. He came to Dan. You know, came to me with this idea the first time ever that he came to me for anything, because he always did things on his own. Even in school, doing plays and things, and I would say, do you need any help? He'd say, no, I got it. Do you want to run lines? Do you want to run? So, no, I got it. And that was it. It was just, I got it. I never thought that, you know, I mean, so when he actually said, do you want to work? I've got an idea. Do you want to work on it with me? I was tickled. And we started working on it, and as we got into it, I'm thinking, this is a great father-son project. This is, boy, how great is this? And then there was a point where I'm thinking, oh God, what if he doesn't have it? I mean, do I reach a point where this is going nowhere? And I'm thinking, ooh, he can't write and he can't. How do I just let it go? Or do I have to tell him, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree, or maybe there are other things you should be looking at doing?
It's a dark conversation.
And anyway, very, very quickly, that just vanished because he was, wow, way ahead of me in terms of.
Eugene's the absolute cutest when he's watching Dan act. He stands behind the monitor and he like mouthing Dan's line and is like a dance mom doing the choreography.
That's great.
Yes, I'm actually watching and learning.
Were you raised in a funny household in your mind?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. My mom's really funny. My dad's funny. I mean, you know, I think it's always been, there's elements of real life that you bring into the experience. I think what's been fun about writing for this family is that you really sort of, because it's behind closed doors, you get to articulate the weird darkness that all families have, which is just the freedoms that people can talk to, like, you know, just the things you can say to, just the way that even David and Alexis can argue with one another, and just, at the end of it, it's always love. But there's just those moments where and that to me is really fun, especially like the, you know, murdering first and the thing at the bus where we're getting the things out, and David, you know, that's the one. You know, to write these really funny, candid moments, behind closed doors moments, that's what has been so great. And, you know, yeah, it's been lovely.
And for you, you got to make out with Mutt. Yeah, I have stuff to say. I was like, wow, this is such a fun role for, as I'm watching, I'm like, this is such a fun role for her. And then I'm like, whoa, this is a really fun role for her.
It's not bad. It's not a bad job. The first time Tim Rozon, who plays Mutt, and I.
Fantastic job, Tim Rozon.
Yeah. And that bod. But the first time we had to have like our big kissing scene, he had like that really dark beard in the first season.
Too much.
Too much.
It was too much.
It was too much.
We can admit that.
And whatever they were using on his face, like it wasn't, they didn't permanently dye his beard. It was like some kind of.
No, it was eyelash.
Like shoe polish or something.
Mascara?
Mascara.
Yeah. So
eyelash
anyway,
black
so we have
stuff.
this.
Wow. Okay.
Put it together.
Anyway, that's what they were using.
So we have this like intense, passionate kiss, and we pull away, and Tim's face just goes entirely white, and I was like, oh my God, what? And I had his beard all over my face.
Your burglar
Wasn't
in a cartoon.
the sexiest look?
No, and you can see it actually in one take in the show.
No.
There's one moment that we couldn't.
Really?
Well, the take was too good. You were doing too good a job.
We were doing too good a job.
Anyway, there's just a bit of sootiness. Covered up
Just
beautifully, by the way, by our lovely.
He lives in a
makeup
barn.
team.
Makes sense.
Yes.
It's very dusty in there.
Yeah.
And what about Ted? She's got another lover.
So many lovers.
I got so much going on. It's and who knows what season 3 holds? You know?
It's true.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think the amazing thing about the Alexis character is that you know, you had to stick to reality in the first season, and we stick to reality in the second. But I think the reality of this character is that she has always been the focus of a man's desire.
Right.
And we don't want that as an audience for her. We want her to find herself. We want her to be the amazing person that she is. And deep down, you see that. She's like an incredibly generous person, blinded by her own self-interests. But season 2, what's lovely about season 2 is that we do get to sort of explore Alexis trying, at least, to focus on herself a little more. And what that looks like is really, really lovely. There's some lovely, more emotional moments in the show. And again, going to what Catherine was saying, is you don't want to make anything too soft. So ultimately, what's quite lovely about our show is if you show just genuine familial interaction, that's considered emotional.
Right.
An audience might get misty-eyed over the fact that someone,
Talking to each other.
hugs.
Right. They're being kind.
They're being kind. So we have a lot of fun with that in the second season. It's rich.
I think it's very interesting that you have written your character as pansexual. Yep. Which, I mean, I used to call it being not picky, but that's
Fair enough.
when I did it. But pansexual, I mean, that's, I said that to someone, I was like, pansexual, and they're like, that's what the millennials are calling themselves, which I laughed.
Well,
But I guess that
That
made me
is-
feel very old, frankly.
it's just who he is. And I think for us, the best part about writing that episode in season 1, the honeymoon episode, was just that we didn't want to make a big deal about it because this family is like totally accepting.
Right.
So to just treat it like it should be treated was a wonderful thing for us, as opposed to having to turn it into a
storyline or like a thing.
Oh, that's what yes, that's, and you won the writing award for that episode.
You did.
Thanks.
All right, we have some questions that have been given to us from the audience that I would like to, let's start with a nice broad one. Any of you or all of you can answer this. What is your favorite part about playing your specific character?
I love throwing muffins at people to get their attention.
Yep. The liberty to do that. They're like,
Yeah.
again, you're like, all right.
There are things that Alexis does that I would die if I did in real life, and it's so much fun to play.
Great.
Yeah.
That muffin throwing was just what she thought was.
She needed to
You
get
couldn't reach over the
Violet's
counter to
attention.
tap her. It was the only
Too far away.
rational way of getting her attention.
Throw something.
Throw a muffin.
Yeah, throw something.
As an actor, so whoever wants to identify with that, what was what was each of your biggest professional struggles? What was your professional struggle?
In
I
this
guess
or
starting
before,
I'm going
or-
to say before.
Getting a job?
Getting a job.
Perhaps.
Yeah, that would be it.
I remember being just out of high school and telling my mom and dad that I was going to be an actress. And my dad said, I can get you a job at CPR, Canadian Pacific Railway. And why can't you dress like the girls in Montreal? And we'll get you a job in the office. Like, no, I'm going to do it. And there was a rough, I kept a diary, and I wouldn't say journal because that would be way too lofty for what I was writing. Slept in again. And I found this a while ago. My sister was holding on to it and gave it to me. Is that they still want me to move out. I don't know why. What have I done? They're giving me, they're giving me 2 months. I have, and then so trying to start it off. Something you think you're going to be able to do someday. I don't know. Anyone else?
Annie
I've got a good one.
Annie had a pretty funny. I call it funny, but I guess it's.
Well, it starts
It's
off with my house
hysterical.
burning down, so it's not that funny.
Oh, that wasn't the story I was going to tell.
So my house burned down, and then I hadn't worked for like a really long time, and I kept getting it narrowed down to me and one other girl, and I was always the girl waiting by the phone that never rang. So I was in LA for pilot season, and I had just botched an audition. Like, it was just, I still have terrible dreams about it. And I just I had this horrible moment where I realized that I didn't think I could do this, and I started crying a lot. And then my husband was like, "This is ridiculous. We're going to the ocean." And so he drove my crying, like disgusting, snotty body to the water, and made me get into my underwear and like threw me in the ocean. And it was like, "Get it together. Now you're baptized. Like everything's gonna be fine." I was like, "No, it isn't." And then.
I can't believe this is your life.
Yeah. And then, literally the next day, I got the audition for Schitt's Creek.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were you that you were driving to the ocean? Where did you begin?
I was in LA.
Okay, you were in LA.
Yeah.
It was Toronto.
Exactly.
Stop crying, we're almost there.
Eugene, other than this project, what is your favorite project that you've worked on?
Oh boy, that's tough because I've got a few of them, actually. I mean, they're
If only you two could get along.
I'm waiting for someone to yell out "Dumb and Dumberer."
Dumb and Dumber.
Almost Heroes. Guy Frontenac. I don't know. I would have to say, obviously, two things. American Pie, which kind of, I mean, what that did, that really kind of was a bit of a turning point, you know, because it just you kind of went from kind of a working actor to kind of being in a hit film. Which is great, and then I think all the Guffman and Best in Show. I think all four of those movies were just such an amazing experience, and
Aw, that was fun.
and SCTV. You know, which is that's what I'm saying. It's so hard to kind of pick one thing because any one of those things you can say was a fantastic experience. So it's, you know, when you're involved in the world of comedy, every experience should be a great experience because if you're not having a good experience making a comedy, something ain't working.
Right. Now, as people were yelling out different projects, when a fan approaches you, can you tell what project, like if they are waiting for a Guffman fan or SC, can you tell who they are?
By their two left feet.
What?
Two left feet.
That was always a tip-off if they come up and look down. No, I think, you know, I've been lucky to have, I think people that do come up, you know, fans are all, I would say, my fans, if I can say that, are all very civilized. They all just, you know, they love your work, Mr. Levy. Thank you. You know, that's it. Yeah.
There was a time, though, when American Pie came out, where everywhere we went, every restaurant we went to, dessert would come, and there would be like a waiter or a waitress who would be like, "It's on the house." And at this point, we'd had like 9,000 slices of apple pie, which was a wonderful thing, but you
That's
always
true.
sort of had to be like, "Oh."
That's true.
Right.
The children.
That is very true.
The whole family just feigning excited, you know, being surprised by
Every wedding I went to, you know, the room would turn around as somebody's bringing something to the table. Apple pie. Wow.
I'm sorry, I have to tell that I was shopping at Trader Joe's before Christmas, and a lovely-looking young couple's over here, and they look and they smile, and I smile back, and they go, "Hi," and I go, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I said, "I'm fine. How are you doing?" "Great." Said, picking out, or look back, they're like, I said, do I know you? Do I know you? Yes. Oh my God, how do I know you? And the rest of the conversation was as if I was denying everything. I said, how do I know you? I know you? Sex Positive LA. You ever heard of it? Thursday nights is awesomely anal. Sorry. What? I go too far.
No.
Have I ruined everything?
No.
I never ever.
Is that where you were supposed to have recognized them?
No, that's how, yes, and I was
I see.
I was denying that at some point we'd pleasured each other, all of us. It was so pathetic. It was so pathetic that I actually got to the point, which I would never do, I swear. Oh, most people don't recognize me for Sex Positive. No, Mom, because it was Christmas, on my defense. I said, most people, maybe Home Alone. And they both look at each other and go, no. I'm sorry. Boy, I just turned things.
No, no. I think it was just like we were all taking in a lot of information.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of members out here. It's like, what's the joke?
Exactly.
Sorry, Sex Positive New York.
It takes place in the back of a Trader Joe's.
You can find it online.
Sunday
it's pretty
nights.
amazing. Wow. Sorry. That was a first.
All right, Dan, I kind of hate to do this to you, but I will do it. This is written by a major fan from Winnipeg.
Okay.
Dan, what is the most intimidative aspect of working with the genius of your father and the genius of Catherine and the genius of Annie? It was in here, but I was just kidding.
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's. I think for Annie and I both, we've sort of gone through this whole experience together. I came from hosting television, so this is a new venture for me in terms of acting. And
Right, you came from MTV Canada, right?
MTV Canada,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lot of people watched. But ultimately, I was feeling the pressure. I knew he was feeling the pressure. I knew that I couldn't really, bombing wasn't an option because we had a production budget and 13 episodes to shoot. But ultimately, it's a masterclass in comedy. I mean, you cannot find better examples of people to learn from than these two lovely people. So
Three.
The three, but I was saying Annie and I.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't in there.
Together in the. But yeah, it was incredibly intimidating. But fortunately, they're just very humble, lovely, generous people when it comes to the craft of acting. So
I think a scene is an equal playing field. You're all there in character, so there's
No kidding,
there's
yeah.
no
It's
hierarchy.
a very Canadian discussion.
Now,
right
these
here.
guys
No, it's
are-
true. It is true. Your
You're all
job is to
equal.
be someone else in that moment, and you're all depending on each other for that. There's no.
I know, but
Have you done this as many times as I have?
That is the case. That's the case most of the time. That's
What?
the case.
No.
Yes.
I mean, people look at you as if.
Yes, I feel like a lot of the time in film and television, depending on who you're working with, if you are a junior in a situation with certain experienced actors, there is power levels and there's things at play. And
That's the people around them too, though, isn't it? It's
I'm
how
sure.
the director's treating them and not talking to you. Or, yeah. I was in a scene once with two movie stars, and yeah, no, I was in a scene with 3 movie stars, and the director said, "I got to reblock this. It's starting to really look like a triangle. It's just a triangle." One of us wasn't in there. But I think it is the people around. No, you think it's the actors?
no, I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
But to your credit and to my dad's credit and to the show's credit, I think it's a really lovely place to come to work. So the intimidation was there maybe for the first day, but that all went away when I mean, I'm speaking on your behalf now, but
Go do it.
it was, you know, it's a very lovely place to come to work.
And this is scripted. Is there any improv happening on set between?
Yeah, I mean,
lines?
I think the scripts are primarily the foundation of what we work off of, and then there's certainly some room for sure.
The scripts are great, so they inspire things
Of
once
course.
in a while, and you try them, and they get used or they don't
Yep.
get used, right?
Yeah, the scripts are, we stick to the script, basically, and then we get to the floor, and when even stuff in the script, when you actually get on your feet and do it, you find, this isn't working quite the way it was looking on the page. So we kind of rework it, and you know, everybody contributes. And there are times, mostly later in the day, when, you know, a scene will just go on past the point of when it actually ends on the page. And a lot of times, those moments are really funny, and we end up using those moments in the show because they're really, really funny.
It's just very collaborative.
Yeah.
I think even in terms of crew and their input and our directors and all the actors, it's, you know, I sat down with Annie and with Emily Hampshire, the amazing Emily Hampshire, who plays
Stevie.
Yeah.
before we started, and you know, we looked through the first episode. I remember that afternoon very clearly, and we just said, you know, I said to them, is there anything that doesn't feel right to you as someone who will be walking into this character? Is there anything that we can adjust as a writer? Is there anything we can work with? And I think that, you know, there's that collaborative, you know, sensibility has sort of run its way through the show, and I think that's why there's such an ease to the performance, because I think everyone sort of feels quite comfortable.
And in terms of performance too, this is, I mean, honestly, the fact is, yes, we've been doing this for a while, but every single actor, it's such an amazing cast, and every single person, Annie and Dan and Emily and Dustin Milligan, who plays Ted, and Tim
Chris Elliott.
Rozon, who plays Mutt, but the younger contingent,
Right.
mostly, everybody's just holding their own and doing such a great job. They're all bringing what they give to the show in such a big way. It's not like there are people on the show that can, in a couple of years, they might learn a thing or two.
Right.
They're already there.
patient.
They're already there. Yeah.
That is the merits of a strong cast. So this is why I love this question. Love this question. Which scene was the most challenging to film and why? This person wants to know, tell me about a disaster. Go.
I would say Catherine and Dan in
June bugs?
Oh, that's because we were laughing, though.
yeah.
That's, yeah. I
The
think
Alley
that's
Vu episode was a funny one when
I
we were
lost.
selling the Arbonne products, and there was Anyway, there's a lovely outtake where Catherine's trying to do her sales pitch. Can't get through it.
Because your face, he had this sad
I had a lot of
self-tanner thing
bronzer
on.
on.
Yeah. And you are not the actor that Moira is. And you had a spiel that you'd memorized. And every time I looked at your face, it was just fear, the deepest, terrifying fear in his eyes. Oh, it just killed me. I was like trying to do a lot of. I think hard scenes though. There's been scenes where they require a little more acting out of us, perhaps. It gets scary.
Well, Dan has a really difficult time anytime we're on location because he has a real phobia of anything that flies. And we're shooting. We're shooting out
Outside
in
the
the country
barn.
in June.
Yeah.
So everything's flying. And
In June.
in June and
June bugs.
June bugs, and they're attracted to the lights that we have set up for night
To
shoots
my
and stuff.
credit, they had just birthed from the. Like it wasn't. People are picturing like a country night. No, it was like invasion. It was like a plague of them. Like they had all sprouted, and they were all fresh. And June bugs don't have eyes.
You know, for
I
big
think.
bugs, they're really stupid. They'll fly right into you.
Oh, and the light was right behind
we were
you, too,
shooting,
so they went after you.
We were shooting the second to last episode where we go into the barn for Moira's surprise party, and we're all dressed up in our suits, and there are 2-inch June bugs flying all over the place, and not just flying. Like, there's the sound that it makes when an ear, when the vibration of a wing whizzes by your ear.
Yeah.
And they were all, so we've been trying, and it was just take after take. And then finally, and seemingly was just me that was being affected by these bugs.
You were right by the
Everyone
light.
else, they knew that I was scared, probably.
Right?
I can smell it.
And eventually there was one that just hit me square in the neck and then fell down my shirt.
And
And-
Dan went from like doing his lines, and all of a sudden he was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
And like his face went white and he just like ran.
I have never sworn like I've sworn that day in
The
my
F-bomb
entire
was
life.
flying that night.
Oh yeah.
It was incredibly unprofessional.
And then we all make our entrance into the barn. And the one take that we actually were able to use was all of us walking in, and you see David kind of walking in, and he's kind of.
That's great.
That was a funny night.
All we did was laugh at him.
Yeah.
Nothing to help.
We did nothing.
Yeah, no, I was in my own
I don't even
hell
think
for
we
just
got-
good.
I love that I asked this question about a disaster, and you guys are like, remember that time there was so much joy on the set, we could barely get through a scene?
Sorry.
And then Annie's like, remember the time the bugs attacked you? I get the dynamic. Exactly.
I don't think she'll ever forget that
no, I
day. That
tell
was
that
one of
story
her
every chance I
happiest
get.
days. Living for it.
I literally just sat and watched and laughed. You have a lint on your pants that's been really
Oh, I
annoying
thought
me
it
all
was
day.
a bug.
Thank you
Thank
for that.
Thank you.
Nobody can see it, but I'm glad I've
There's
removed
a big
it.
spider crawling.
Catherine, that is some crazy OCD that just happened right there. I
Sorry
like
about that.
You're telling me.
I've been looking at it all night, too.
Okay, good.
But I thought the audience can't see it,
Good.
so it's okay.
Oh, good.
Catherine, who are the influences for Moira's character? P.S. We love you, XOXO Scott and Ryan.
Oh, thank you, Scotty. I just, first of all, wanted to be more feminine than I am, and I didn't want to. I remember improvising at Second City. It was too easy to go into kind of bitchy, angry wives, and I would do that way too often. I don't know who I was channeling, but it would just, I guess myself. But I would do that. My future self. I was not married at the time. And you know, these people are really in trouble, and everything's lost, and you know, so I just had a fear. It was more defensive kind of creativity than anything proactive. Yeah, so I wanted to be more feminine, and I know a woman whose husband was famous, and you wouldn't know him, and she's just really, really feminine. Deb's wife says she always feels like I'm Deb's wife. Eugene's wife, Deb, always says I feel like a man next to her. You know, she makes every woman feel like, because she's just soft. It's all soft. And she also, one of the things I stole from her was her, you know, as if she looks up different words every day and then misuses them. But at least makes the effort. Really makes the effort and won't, you know, it's fun trying to, you know, working on the dialogue because, you know, just I will not say things like other people do. And you're lazy if you don't make the effort. You know, so, which is not that person, but sometimes just to get out of my own head, I don't know if you guys do this, but to get out of your own head, you just pick something. Even if you're wrong, you're misreading it completely about someone else. It's like, that'll take me away from me, and it just helps carry you somewhere else.
And writing for Moira, I have a thesaurus app on my computer.
Oh, yeah.
And every time there's a word that you think like, we can't have her say I'm happy, what's the most uncomfortably pretentious way of describing happiness?
I'm feeling such jubilation.
I love an evening with when she's auditioning.
An evening with.
Yes, or an evening with.
Perhaps.
And your character of Johnny is pretty, like he's holding everything together. It's a little more straight than other characters you've played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was kind of by design. Wanted to keep and was very excited about playing a character that is perhaps the straightest thing I've done, because I've played some out there characters. But this was really something I was looking forward to, just being kind of the straight guy that keeps the story moving, and you know, surrounding yourself with kind of funny people. And it was a kind of an exercise that I was excited about doing. So yeah, it's a kind of a straighter way to go for me, and I think you need that character. You need that person that is kind of the straight person that kind of grounds everything that's happening around him, the guy that really is trying to keep the family together, that's trying to be positive, that's trying to keep a positive outlook on this whole mess, and I'm having a ball playing this guy.
Eugene, it's also hilarious.
Oh yeah, and it's
Oh,
also
so pathetic, selling the car.
Yeah.
Oh, you can see, he's back in, he's back in.
All right, so we have time really for one more question. I feel like I can't pick it. Can you just pick one and I'll ask my question? Or you can ask.
Do I get to ask
Sure,
it?
would you like
Oh, it's for me.
Yeah. Aw.
Oh, you're good.
I'm the asshole that picked his own question. Dan, how many people are in the writing team, and how does the writing process work, and how involved are each of you? Well, there's about 7. Season 2 we had more. We had about 8 or 9. And it's a very collaborative team. We work on the entire season. We write the entire season before we shoot it. And, you know, it's really about just sitting down as a group, and, you know, we have a wide cross-section of writers from, you know, from 27 to
73.
Mike Short.
Oh, yeah, he is.
73, and you know, and the experience you get out of that cross section is invaluable for this show, because I think, you know, it balances so lovely the sort of younger world of all these sort of, you know, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and then the parental generation.
Diplomatic.
And you know, that's been really fun to do, and I also feel like all of our writers are, you know, we've kept most of our writers through the first season, the second season, and now into the third, and I think there's just a lovely commitment that our writers have to the show. They love the show, and you know, there's a heartbeat that pulses through the show, and I hope that the audience can feel that, and I think it grows from season to season. I mean, ultimately, you start out with this family that is so dismantled, and the goal is, how do you put them back together in a way that is not saccharine, that is true to who they are as people, but also, you know, that proves that there's love there. So the second season, I think, is really just, you know, for us, what was fun about it is we're exploring what love is to this family, and how it rears its head from time to time. And I think, you know, I think you guys have hopefully a lovely season ahead of you. So.
Oh, that's for sure. We got a taste of it, and everyone here absolutely loved it. Can money solve your problems? What do you think?
Can help?
Can help? Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, everyone.
Yeah, sure.
All right, good to know. So,
In this world, yeah.
big round of applause for the cast of Schitt's Creek: Eugene Levy, Annie Murphy, Catherine O'Hara, Dan Levy.